Hey there, thanks for turning down my road. If this is your first time here, my name's Carl. My little brother and I both work for local farmers full time, but we both also farm together with our cattle herd and our hay operation. Everybody's involved, from the smallest to the biggest. If you don't have the joy of farming yourself, I'd love to help you experience it through this channel. Whatever your background, you found the right place. This is Dodge Brothers Farm and Ranch. Hey everybody, it's time to get ready for harvest. I am on the way up to the shed a few miles up the road from the main farm. The grain cart has a flat tire right now. I have contacted the tire repair guy. They're going to come out with their service truck sometime this week, I believe, and try to get that flat tire fixed. Now these tires are huge on the grain cart. So I've got to get all the other equipment moved away from the grain cart so that guy has room to work on it. So here's the poor grain cart, and you can see its feelings are hurt. This tire it doesn't look completely flat, but it's just because the rubber on this tire is so thick. It's actually off the bead on the back side. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah, you can, yep. It's off the bead for sure, right there. So, I don't think that's gonna be a fun tire to fix, but I'm interested to see how he's gonna do it. It should be fun to watch. Boy, this stuff is amazing. It's not cheap, but it really works. It calls itself the oil that creeps, and it sure does. So just a quick refresher, the snapping rolls are turning towards each other and pulling the corn stalk down, and then that tears the ear off, and the ear lays on the deck plates and gets gathered up into the head by the gathering chains. So what I'm doing right now is I'm adjusting the tension on this spring that puts the appropriate amount of tension on the gathering chains. So I just need to tighten this up until there's 3/16 of an inch gap between this washer and this sleeve. Basically 3/16 of an inch of play. I've measured it before in the past, but if you look at the spring, so this one here is properly adjusted. You can see pretty much one spring coil. This one here is out of adjustment. It's too loose. You can see multiple spring coils. That's the way I do it. I used to measure it, but this is pretty darn close. Okay, I've got the gathering chains properly adjusted, and now it's time to check the level of the oil in the gearboxes and in the chain reservoirs, chain oil bath places. I don't know what to call them. So what I need to do is I need to run the corn head for a little bit to warm it up, to warm the oil up so it'll drain out of the chain case. That's what I'm gonna call it, the chain case. And so I'll get an accurate reading on the dipsticks for each row unit gearbox. That's what it says in the book. That's what we're gonna do. Oh boy. Feels like harvest. Where is all that dust coming from? I cleaned this thing out last fall and washed it. Wow. What in the world? While I'm doing this is the perfect time to make sure that the automatic header control is going to work. So I'll just push the down button and look at that. Real nice. Just floating along just like it should. So here's something cool. These square holes are 3/8, so it just takes a 3/8 extension. I like to use the 1/2" ratchet though to break these loose. Ooh, ouch. Okay, what you didn't just see, what you didn't just see was me whacking my head on the snoot while I was breaking that loose. This is the price I pay for doing things one-handed sometimes so I can hold the camera. This is how much I care about you. Anyway, back to business. Okay, so now we can just thread this puppy right out of there. And as you can see, it's a dipstick, much like checking the oil on your car. So get a paper towel and wipe it off. And then you are supposed to thread it all the way back down in, and the oil should be at the top hash mark. But I have discovered that if you don't thread it in and you pull it out, if the oil is at the bottom hash mark, as it is here, if I can get it to focus, if the oil is at the bottom hash mark, and then if you actually thread it all the way in like you're supposed to, like a good boy, and then pull it back out, voila, the oil is at the top hash mark, just like it's supposed to be. So I don't really thread them back in. I just set it on the threads and make sure that the oil is at the bottom hash mark, and then if it's not, if there's some question, I can thread it back in and figure it out. But time-saving tip for you guys. There you go. All right, sorry for all the noise. The feed grinder is going in the background. That's what you're hearing. We're grinding corn for pigs. But right now I am draining the gear oil out of this chain case on the end of the head. There's a drive chain inside here that runs in oil all the time. And so I'm draining the nasty old oil out of there, and then we'll put brand new oil in, and it'll be really happy about it. You gotta treat your equipment well, and it'll treat you better than if you didn't. So it's pretty easy. You just dump oil into the chain case until it runs out the check plug hole on the front, and then you put your check plug back in and make sure you've got everything cleaned up. I've already checked the tension on the chain, so clean the cover plate up and the O-ring really good, put it all back together, and you're good to go. So as it turns out, there wasn't anything wrong with the tire. There was a bad O-ring between the two sections of the split rim. The part that he's cleaning up right now is the outer edge of the rim, and you can see the snap ring laying on the ground. And that snap ring goes into this large groove on the outside of the rim to hold that outer part of the rim on. Otherwise, you'd never be able to get the tire slid over it if you couldn't take that off. And there's an O-ring that goes in between the two pieces of the rim, and that O-ring is what was actually bad. You can see him putting the new O-ring in right now. He took the whole tire off and greased everything up, checked the inside of the tire, make sure it was in good shape, and put the tire lubricant grease all over it, and the same with the O-ring so that it would seal up really well, and it also helps it slide on. So that's all there is to it. The grain cart's ready to go down the road now. I'm gonna get rid of the corn head for now and put it in the sweet corn parking lot, and we'll hook onto the bean head and start checking it out, see what it needs. Well, the one thing that has to be done to the bean head every year is there's always some sickle sections and some sickle guards that are broken. So I'm replacing a few of those, and then we'll check out the rest of the machine. So another thing that this draper has a lot of is gearboxes. There is a main drive gearbox here that hooks up to the PTO shaft. So there's a check plug right here. I just took the check plug out, and as you can see, a little bit of oil ran out, so that means that there's enough in there. There's a dipstick on the top of these gearboxes right here on the side, so gotta get in there and check that. And of course, it's just, like I say, it's got a dipstick on it, so it's real easy to check. As you can see, there's oil on it, but I'll obviously have to take a paper towel, wipe it off, set it back in, and check it. It's time to get up under the hoods and start checking the tension on all of the chains and belts. This is important because if you over tighten a belt or a chain, you're wearing out the bearings and you're stretching the chain or the belt and wearing it out quickly. And if you under tighten them, you're also giving them the opportunity to slip, or with a chain, you might be wearing the teeth out or jumping past a tooth on a sprocket. So you want to have them tightened to the appropriate spec. John Deere's actually made this really easy by putting these guides on all of the spring-loaded tensioners. So this one is perfectly in spec. The washer is supposed to be between the tip and the shoulder here on this guide. It's kind of like a dipstick. If you get past this shoulder, it's too tight. If it's out past the end of the tip, it's too loose. Now, it's the same on the chain tensioners as well. This is the chain tensioner for the main unload auger, and you can tell that it is not tight enough. It needs to be tightened up because that washer needs to land in the check zone on that guide. And this chain, I may take it off and see how much side flex there is in it, because this chain has been known to break on us. This thing is under a lot of stress unloading on the go, starting with that auger not completely emptied out. So it might just be a good idea to change this one before we even get going this year. If there's a 70% chance that it's going to break in the season, I probably should just change it. Now this chain on the side of the feeder house is shot. There is a little adjustment left. I could adjust it and tighten it up. This could go all the way up to here. However, look at the side play in this chain. I mean, you can grab a hold of it and twist it like this. There's a whole bunch of side play in it. It's really worn out, and there's really no point in chancing it because it's going to break sometime this season. I might as well change it now when we're not in the middle of trying to get something done. I actually went to the local repair shop in town and had these chains custom cut. Saved a bundle of money over going to the John Deere store and paying for the chain with the exact same part number as is listed in the diagram. And look, I got a little free dog hair. So for those of you who are not familiar with chain replacement, I'm sure most of you have done something similar on a bicycle. When we buy chains for farm equipment, they have a connector link, which is basically just a link that is broken down. And you put this plate on. Put this plate on the link like that, and then here is this little connector piece that snaps over it. It's actually split right here on the end, right there. So it can snap over and land right in these grooves. I don't know if it's in focus, if you can see it or not. But anyway, that is how it works. Beautiful. Now I just have to tighten this tensioner up just a little bit, just enough to get the chain off of this bottom guide on the back end. It's going to stretch a lot right away. But you can see where I was at with the adjustment on the old chain. I'm clear back here with the adjustment on the new one. That ought to do it. Well, that's pretty much going to do it for this video because I have to get headed to town to get it exported and uploaded so you guys can watch it tonight. Next week, I will go through a couple more things on the combine. I've got to check the tension on the chains on the elevator paddles, and I've got to do a few more things. I've got to grease all the grease fittings, and while I'm doing that, that gives me a great opportunity to take a good look at all the bearings and try to turn everything by hand that I should be able to turn, make sure everything sounds good, takes grease, and then I'll fuel it up, and it'll be pretty much ready to go to the field. It definitely pays to take a few days, take some time, don't be in a rush, and look over everything that you can look at before you get started, because there's nothing more frustrating than having a breakdown in the field that you know you could have prevented if you would have caught it when you had the chance. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time.